For 10 years, Dr. Dianne Boardley-Suber's visionary leadership has led St. Augustine's College to new levels. Her passion has been to prepare young men and women to become viable, qualified, educated employees, entrepreneurs, and citizens of society. She has made significant and notable accomplishments at the institution through her tireless efforts of building upon the vision of the founders, which was established 143 years ago for the education of freed slaves. Dianne Boardley-Suber has always believed in taking risks for the name of education. Throughout her 10 years at St. Augustine's College, her willingness to stick out her neck and put her tail on the line has inspired all who know her to also examine themselves and become inspired by her commitment to excellence. Growing up in Tallahassee, Florida, Dr. Suber was like most kids. She was outgoing and loved to be with her family. Family has always been important to the Boardley household, and education has always been an important factor in her life. Her parents taught at Florida A&M University, and she attended high school on that very campus.
We had what we call a very charmed life. We grew up in a community where our parents all worked together. All the kids played together. We went to the same music teacher, the same dancing teacher, and so we really grew up as a community, and there's a saying that it takes a village to raise a child, and that's how we grew up.
She was an outstanding student and involved in many extracurricular activities, including working as an editor of the student newspaper and yearbook, as well as an accomplished pianist and swimmer. When it was time for Dr. Suber to choose her career path, she decided to follow in her parents' footsteps and become an educator.
Well, my mother was an early childhood educator. She taught kindergarten and then higher education, and sitting around the table listening to her tell the stories, the children always were children, not little people, but people with distinct personalities. And what I enjoyed most as an elementary school teacher and principal was coming to understand the teaching and learning process, and to really understand that teachers make a difference in whether children learn or not.
She pursued her undergraduate studies at Hampton University, received her Master's of Education in Curriculum Development from the University of Illinois of Urbana, and a Doctorate of Education in Education Administration from Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia. After years of teaching in elementary and middle school, Dr. Suber decided to transition into higher education. Dr. Suber retells how the situation presented itself for her to become president of St. Augustine's College.
The experiences, I think, in preparation for presidency really started back with the elementary school experience. I mean, the focus on development and learning, processes, and developing infrastructures for the purpose of success actually started as an administrator in public schools. When I went to Hampton, I took a job at Hampton with oversight for several organizations that I had no knowledge of whatsoever. Admissions, financial aid, and the registrar's office. And 2 weeks before I got there, the financial aid director quit. And so that whole conversation that Bill and I had about skill sets of administration kicked into place, because I had to then provide leadership for a unit that I had no working knowledge of. And I think that's where my background, my training, my experiences led me to make a successful transition.
Dr. Harvey recalls when Dr. Suber expressed interest in the presidency at St. Augustine's College.
When Dr. Suber mentioned to me that she had an interest, I was very supportive. I thought that she would really become an outstanding chief executive, and that thought has proven true.
A. Melvin Miller, former interim president of St. Augustine's College and current board member, was involved in the selection process for the new president. He says there were a number of applicants.
We set up a national search, hired a search firm, sent out nationally notices of the vacancy. The search firm then narrowed down the applicants we got, which were many, to 10. The executive committee of the board then interviewed all 10 of those persons, and we then selected the top 3, of which Dr. Suber was one.
Mr. Everett Ward recalls how the Alumni Committee was involved in the selection process.
Well, there were 3 alumni members who were selected, and I had the good fortune to be one of those. And we interviewed the 3 finalists, and clearly as alumni we were looking for certain characteristics in the president or potential president, one of which for us was the whole concept of town and gown, which is often referred to, which indicates that the candidate understands the importance of community. I remember distinctly that she said